Hey everybody, I'm here today to show you how to cut a hole in drywall. Now, people generally cut holes in drywall for, outlets, for electrical outlets, for electrical switches and things like that. When you are installing drywall, most of the time it will be necessary to cut at least a few holes, especially if you are doing an entire wall. So let's get right to the tutorial. The first step is to measure where the hole is in relation to the piece of drywall that you will be installing. So for this, I basically measure the four corners of the hole. So obviously, most holes that you have to cut will be a rectangle. So I'm going to explain it in terms of a rectangle. I would measure where the top left corner of that hole is, from the left of the drywall and then from the bottom of the drywall. Then I would measure the top right corner of that rectangle from the left of the drywall and from the bottom of the drywall. Then I would do the bottom left corner and the bottom right corner. You are basically going to do that, and you are going to transfer those measurements onto the piece of drywall by drawing four dots where the corners of the four corners of the hole will be. So I'm going to do that right now, and I'm going to simply use a tape measure and a marker. I would recommend using a pencil instead of a marker, but for the purposes of this video, I will be using a marker just because it will be easier for you to see where the lines and the dots are. Alright, so now that I have my four dots on the piece of drywall, I'm going to basically connect the dots with straight lines. And once again, these are the four corners of the holes. So I can literally, and you can obviously use a ruler or something with a straight edge, but this isn't a big hole, so I'm just going to very simply draw a straight line from one corner to the other. And that will complete my rectangle on here. Okay, and to be honest with you, I don't know if this is the standard size for a hole or not in drywall, because I just made up these measurements for the purposes of this video. I'm not using this drywall for anything in specific. I'm just showing you how to cut a hole in drywall. So if this doesn't look like a standard box size, then it's probably not, because I literally just made up the measurements. Okay, so the next step is to, I'm just going to move this a little bit further down there, is to get your drywall saw, and you're going to cut the hole in the drywall. Now this is the drywall saw that I use. There are a wide variety of types, but I like this one the best, to be honest with you. I feel that it does the best job for my specific situation, and it didn't cost a lot. And that's what it looks like. I just wanted to show it to you. Okay, so to cut out the hole, first things first, you're going to want to make sure that the drywall is resting on something. Okay, so I just have these two plastic chairs here that the drywall is resting on. And secondly, you're going to want to make sure that there is nothing underneath where you will be cutting, because you will need to put the drywall saw all the way through, and it's going to go below the drywall by at least a few inches. So make sure that there's nothing below it. So we're going to start off in one corner. We're going to take our drywall saw, get the point of the drywall saw right in the middle of the corner as much as you can, and then you're going to basically hammer it down a few times until we get it through. Okay? This is basically the hardest part. Okay, now that the drywall saw is through, we are going to just reciprocate it back and forth until we get to the other hole. We're going to make our way to the other dot right there. Okay, just like this. Okay, so we made our way to the from one hole to the other hole, from one dot to the other dot, basically. So just a tip while you're cutting, for when you're cutting a hole in drywall, let the drywall saw do the work for you. Don't use a lot of pressure, but use a lot of reciprocating motion, and the drywall saw will do most of the work for you. Okay, now that we are here, you can't just continue cutting because you've come to a complete stop. So you have to take the drywall saw and make another indentation or another hole just like that. Hammer it down a few times. And then once you have the drywall saw in, just like that, cut to the next dot, the next corner. Okay, now we are going to do the same thing that we just did and make our way to the next corner. And one last time, we are going to do the exact same thing and make our way to the final corner. And if we did it properly and all of the cuts connect properly, we should have a complete hole in the piece of drywall. The inner piece should just fall out. All right, the moment of truth. Let's see. There you have it. As you can see, I cut a hole in this piece of drywall, and it was rather simple. The most important part is actually getting your measurements correct, actually getting your measurements as accurate as they can be. So when you are making your measurements for the 4 corners of the hole, definitely measure twice. Measure 3 times before you actually go and draw the dots in the spots of the corners. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching.